The next part from circle, that we are about to discuss is called radical axis. Now let us firstly have the idea what is a radical axis. So it's been said, corresponding to a given pair of circles, the locus of a point which varies in the plane of the circle such that the length of tangent from the variable point to given pair of circles are always equal. Then the locus is going to be called radical axis for the given pair of circles. Okay. So what's been said is, if we do have a pair of given circle, then the points from where we can draw tangents of equal length to both these circles, if we join such points, then what we will get is going to be called radical axis for the circles. Now for any given circle and for a considered point, can we determine the length of tangent? By that root over S1 idea, we know that PA into PB is PT square. Just a while ago, we have applied the same idea, right? And we know that PA into PB for a circle S is equals to 0 and a given coordinate for the point P is going to be S1. So PT square is S1, PT will be root over S1. Okay. So we can think of the given pair of circles are these two equations. S is equals to 0, that is x square plus y square plus 2g1x plus 2f1y plus c1 equals to 0. And S dash is equals to 0, that's x square plus y square plus 2g2x plus 2f2y plus c2 is equals to 0. If we consider that P with some coordinate h comma k be such a random point from where the length of tangent to both these circles are equal, then we can simply equate the length of tangent from the given, from the assumed point to the given circles. Is this statement clear to all? Can you all recall this denotion root over S1? If S is equals to 0 is the standard general equation of the considered curve, then due to a point with coordinates h comma k, S1 is going to be that value which can be found by substitution of h for x and substitution of k for y. So we have done this substitution over the first expression, that's S1. As such, length of tangent is going to be root over this value. And similarly, S1 for this circle and this point, we are going to be root over h square plus k square. Sorry, I have written 1 on both sides. It should be 2. Let me rectify. It's 2g2h plus 2f2k plus c2. Okay. And hence, taking the terms to same side, we have got 2g1 minus g2 into h plus 2f1 minus f2 into k plus c1 minus c2 is equals to 0. So to get rid of the square roots, we have squared on either side. And taking the terms to same side, we can cancel out h square plus k square. So that has given us this locus. And hence, to have the equation of the locus, we can replace h with x and k with y. So we have got this as the equation of radical axis, right? Now look a bit carefully that what we have done. To have the length of tangent in terms of root over S1, we have substituted h comma k for x comma y. And then we have got this root over S1 for the first circle is equals to root over S1 for the second circle. And then after squaring, taking the term same side, and we are replacing back h and k with x and y respectively. That means we can think of it was root over expression, standard general expression for the first circle is equals to root over standard general expression for the second circle will be responsible for this equation if I do not pursue the substitution of h comma k and replace back h and k with x and y respectively. And hence the equation we have got is also considerable as s minus s dash is equals to 0. So there are two very special things we have got. First thing, the radical axis we have perceived, equation 1, this is confirms it is a 1-degree polynomial equation in two variables. Hence, it must stands for a straight line. Like if I consider these two circles are our given pair of circle, then for such point P from where length of tangents are equal means PA is equals to PB. So locus of P been found as a equation of line that's confirmed by equation 1. And even more importantly or more motivatingly, we have got a very easy shortcut to determine the equation of radical axis. That is, if you have your given pair of circle represented in standard general form, simply perform the subtraction of the two equations and your equation of radical axis is ready. Is that okay with everyone? So what equation we have got that stands for a straight line? Even more importantly, we have got the determination process of radical axis equation is very easy. And as this determination process of radical axis equation is very easy, so we have reinterested into the query that what are the earlier figures that can be considered as radical axis, means what about the circular figure and their associated diagram could be identified as radical axis, because if we can identify something as radical axis, the determination process will be very easy. It will be simply having the circles in standard general form and their subtraction will give us the equation of radical axis. Is this part clear to all? Yes. And hence, to search for this applicability of easy determination of equation, we have searched all possible positioning of two circles and how their radical axis can appear. Okay, because if we can identify the radical axis in a specific form, we can determine its equation on a very easy note. So far, is that clear to all? So now as we have identified the determination process of radical axis is very easy, at least by its equation. We are going for this relative positioning of two circles in different form and identifying whether the radical axis appears for them. If appears, how it appears. So the first case we have addressed is the externally disjoint form. Now in such positions, two circles supposed to have four common tangents, right? And the midpoint of each of the four common tangents, they satisfy the idea of radical axis. Like from midpoint of common tangent, length of tangent is equal on either side. So definitely the all four midpoints of the four common tangents must lie on radical axis. And we have also identified radical axis as a straight line. So all these four midpoints will be collinear by a line which can be determined by s minus s dash is equals to 0.
Yes, sir.
Okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So over here, the information which is special to us, earlier we have concluded that there will be four common tangents. Now we have also established the midpoints of the common tangents are collinear, and by the idea of radical axis, the determination of the equation for the line which is passing through all four midpoints is also very easy. We can go by s minus s dash is equals to 0. Next, we have targeted externally contacting circle. Now, whenever two circles have a common point, from the common point, length of tangent to both the circle is going to be 0. So it must be on the radical axis. So over here, we have found the common tangent through the common point will itself be the radical axis. Because if you consider the common tangent through the common point, say Q is that common point. Now you consider any point on this line, the common tangent through the common point. The measurement of length of tangent is basically the same for both the circle. Because
Yes,
if you
sir.
consider any point Q1 on this line, then Q1 will be the length of tangent, which is true for both. So the line which is common tangent through the common point will itself be the radical axis. And hence, we can identify where this common tangent through common point will intersect the direct common tangent. It must be the midpoint of the direct common tangent. Is that okay with everyone? Because the point of intersection of radical axis with direct common tangent must give us length of tangent on either side equal. So it must be the midpoint of direct common tangent. Even if I consider any point P on this line, so PQ is the common measurement for length of tangent. That also confirms that definitely PA and PB, length of tangents to two given circles, are always equal, because PA is same as PQ and PQ is same as PB. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
The next idea is intersecting circles. Now over here, both the intersection points of the two circles satisfy the idea of radical axis. Okay. So if we consider both these intersection points, these are on radical axis, and radical axis is a straight line. So we can confirm if we join the 2 points and extend, that will be the radical axis. But theoretically, there is a problem. Like the internal section of the common chord, which is the joining segment of the two common points, the section of the line which is appearing interior to the circle, we cannot draw tangent from any position on this segment, right?
Yes, sir.
This is common interior of both the circles. So if we take any point on this particular segment, we cannot draw tangents to any of the circle. So theoretically, this particular stretch should not be radical axis, and
Yes,
hence
sir.
radical axis will be the common points and the extensions of common chord to the exterior of the circles. So theoretically, that section of the line is radical axis. But it is equally true that equation of a line and equation of a segment from the line, they do not differ, right? If you consider equation of x-axis and equation of the segment which is joining -10,0 to 15,0, both will stay same. It's y is equals to 0,
Yes, sir.
right? So equation of a line and equation for a segment from the line, that remains same. And we are searching this particular section because the determination process of radical axis equation was very easy. And as common chord been found a part of the same line, which is radical axis, so now common chord can be determined very easily by s minus s dash is equals to 0. The equation will stand good for common chord. Is it okay? Even you can consider in the earlier section, if we do not have the idea of radical axis, the equation of common tangent through common point, this determination process earlier should have been done by the equation of the circles. We should firstly find the centers and the radii, then identify the contact point Q as the internal section point of the centers in the ratio of radii. Now, as we have got the point Q, now if you use T transformation for any one of the circle due to the coordinate of Q, that would have given us the equation of the common tangent through common point. But now with radical axis, we can determine it far more quicker way just through S minus S dash is equals to 0. Similarly, common chord of two intersecting circles without the idea of radical axis, that could have been done in a very lengthy way. But now with the idea of radical axis, we can determine it simply and directly as S minus S dash is equals to 0. Is it okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
If we consider internally contacting circle, so the lone common point is definitely belonging to radical axis, and hence the tangent, the lone common tangent through that common point, will act as radical axis, because like earlier,
Yes, sir.
the contacting position, you consider any point on this line, the length of tangent measurement is same for both the circle. So definitely the whole line, that is the lone common tangent, will appear as radical axis, and hence its determination process become easier. Now we can determine it as S minus S dash is equals to 0. But when we move to internally disjoint circles, we have identified radical axis does not exist for such circles. We cannot have any such point from where length of tangent is same to both the circles, and hence radical axis does not exist for internally disjoint circles. Whereas S minus S dash is equals to 0 might take us to some equation. So that confirms radical axis is represented by S minus S dash is equals to 0 is true statement, but S minus S dash is equals to 0 always represent radical axis is not right. We should say S minus S dash is equals to 0 represent radical axis provided it exists. Okay. Even you can have an idea if we consider two internally disjoint circles as two concentric circles. We can have these two circles as concentric circles, and we know that concentric circles having their standard general representation differing only through the constant term. So if I perform S minus S dash is equals to 0 here, it will look quite absurd. It will appear as 7 is equals to 0, or due to any two concentric circle, it will appear like a non-zero constant equal with 0. So that confirms that it is not right to go for S minus S dash is equals to 0 for radical axis without being sure whether it exists or not. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
So now we'll get into the properties of radical axis, like what we have got, what other conclusions we can get out of this. The first conclusion we are getting, the line representing radical axis is always perpendicular to the center joining line of the given circles. Okay. Now the moment we are saying like the line representing radical axis, that means we are ensuring radical axis exists, and if radical axis exists, then it is definitely perpendicular to center joining line. We can simply establish this by assuming two circles. So the first one is S is equals to 0 with parameter G1, F1, C1. And the second one is S dash is equals to 0 with parameter G2, F2, C2. So radical axis is going to be 2 into G1 minus G2 into X plus 2 F1 minus F2 into Y plus C1 minus C2 is equals to 0. And having slope for radical axis, we are getting minus of G1 minus G2 divided by F1 minus F2. It's minus 1 into coefficient of X divided by coefficient of Y. Whereas we also know the centers of the circles. And the slope of the center joining line is going to be exactly negative reciprocal. So even through this general assumption, we can show radical axis is perpendicular to center joining line. Is it clear? The slope of the center joining line been determined simply through change in ordinate by change in abscissa. Is the first point clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now the next one, if three circles are such that their centers are not collinear and no two circles are internally disjoint. Now the interpretation of first two lines, that if three circles are such that their centers are not collinear and no two circles are internally disjoint, that means every pair of circle possesses radical axis and no two such radical axes are parallel to each other, because if all three centers appears on same straight line, all the radical axes will be perpendicular to the center joining straight line and will be parallel. So first two line interprets we are dealing with three such circles where each pair of circle possesses radical axis and no two radical axes are parallel. Moreover, the conclusion given on that basis, then pairwise taken, we will get three radical axes which are always concurrent at a point called radical center of the circles. So if we construct three such circles with no two of them internally disjoint and the centers are not collinear. So we can think of, for the first and second circle, radical axis will be s minus s dash is equals to 0. Consider as L12. For second and third circle, the radical axis will be s dash minus s double dash is equals to 0, marked as L23. And for first and third circle, the radical axis will be s minus s double dash is equals to 0, represented as L13. So from this representation, we have got L12 plus L23 is same as L13. That means one of the line been represented as constant combination of the other two lines. That's only possible if L13 is equals to 0 must pass through the point of intersection for L12 is equals to 0 and L23 is equals to 0. This conclusion coming from the idea of family of concurrent line. If any line can be written as lambda 1 L1 plus lambda 2 L2 is equals to 0, then the representation can stand for the whole concurrent family who pass through the point of intersection of the given reference lines. Over here, we have found L13 is a constant combination of L12 and L23, and hence L13 is equals to 0 must pass through the point of intersection of L12 is equals to 0 and L23 is equals to 0, and that confirms the concurrency of the radical axis. In particular, if we describe three circles on three sides of a triangle, considering the sides as diameter, then the radical center of the circles will be the orthocenter for the triangle. Now, how we can establish so? Let us firstly consider the blue circle and the red circle. Okay. Now, blue circle and red circle, they do have vertex C in common, because blue circle been described considering AC side as diameter for triangle ABC, and red circle been described considering BC side as diameter. So C is definitely a common point for them. Now, if I consider any other point F as their common point for these two intersecting circle, then CB must subtend right angle at F, being semicircular angle. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
BC being diameter, BC will subtend semicircular angle, right angle at point F. Also, AC being diameter, it will also subtend right angle at F. So that means BFC and CFA is equals to 180 degree, confirms F to appear on AB, and it is from the opposite vertex C, a perpendicular to AB. So it is one of the altitude of the triangle. On a similar note, if I consider the blue circle and the green circle, they do have A in common. Moreover, if I consider the other common point is D, by the idea that AC diameter will subtend right angle at D and AB diameter will also subtend right angle at D, we can confirm D to appear on BC and AD being perpendicular to BC, confirming AD as another altitude, and hence this AD, CF, BE are the three altitudes which are also part of the radical axis. So the radical center will be the point of concurrency of the altitude of the triangle, that is orthocenter for the triangle. Is that okay with everyone? Can everyone follow this step?
Yes.
So can you explain this part once again? Just
Which particular section?
so like how the tangents will be part of the circle. I mean, like touching the circle here I couldn't for finding the radical axis.
We don't have any tangents here. If you draw circles on the sides of a triangle, considering the sides as diameter, how
Yes,
will
sir.
be the circles? Will they be disjoint? Will they be contacting? Or will they be intersecting? Intersecting. And if you consider any two such circles, like the blue one and the red one,
Yes, sir.
they do have their diameters as AC and CB.
Yes, sir.
C is definitely one of the point of intersection.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, whatever else you are considering as point of intersection, over there, both these diameters will subtend right angle.
Yes, sir.
That confirms the point to be on AB and altitude to AB from C.
Yes, sir.
Same reason for the other ones, like if you consider the blue circle and the green circle, they do have definitely a common point at A. If the other point is D, both AB and AC will subtend right angle at D. That
Yes, sir.
confirms D is on BC.
Yes, sir.
And AD is altitude from A to BC.
Yes, sir.
So if you have already confirmed that two of the common chords are two of the altitudes of the triangle, that means the point of intersection of the common chords, that is point of concurrency of the radical axis, is going to be the orthocenter for the triangle.
Yes, sir.
Number 3, if a circle intersects two given circles orthogonally, then the radical axis of the given circles must pass through the center of common orthogonal circle. Okay? So is this statement clear for all? It's been said, if a circle cuts two given circles orthogonally, then radical axis for the given pair of circle must pass through the center of this common orthogonal circle. So let us have this diagram. Let the blue circles are the given pair of circles and the red circle intersects both of them orthogonally. Okay? In that case, the radical axis we can get for the blue circles that must pass through the center of common orthogonal circle, that is the center of the red circle. Depending on this criteria, we can also describe radical axis for a given pair of circles as locus of the center of a variable circle which intersects both our given pair of circles orthogonally. Okay. Now let us establish this fact. So I have considered S and S dash are the blue circles, whereas S double dash is the red circle. Okay. If I consider the orthogonality condition of S is equals to 0 and S double dash is equals to 0, that will give us 2G1 G3 plus 2F1 F3 is equals to C1 plus C3. Can you all follow this by condition of orthogonality? If the
Yes,
first
sir.
circle and the third circle, these two are orthogonal, so they must satisfy 2G1 G3 plus 2F1 F3 is equals to C1 plus C3. We can also establish the orthogonality condition of second circle and third circle. That will give us 2G2 G3 plus 2F2 F3 is equals to C2 plus C3. Okay. Now, if we subtract 2 from 1, that gives us 2G1 minus G2 into G3 plus 2F1 minus F2 into F3 is equals to C1 minus C2. Now take all the terms to the side of C1 minus C2. Due to that, the sign change which will occur to the terms like 2G1 minus G2 into G3, but sign change will be occurred. We have adapted that by changing the sign of G2. So we can rewrite the equation as 2G1 minus G2 into minus of G3 plus 2F1 minus F2 into minus of F3 plus C1 minus C2 is equals to 0. And we can also determine the radical axis for the first two circles. We will get this as 2G1 minus G2 into X plus 2F1 minus F2 into Y plus C1 minus C2 is equals to 0. Now compare 3 and 4. We can identify X is equals to minus G3 and simultaneously Y is equals to minus F3, satisfying equation 4. That confirms radical axis for S is equals to 0 and S dash is equals to 0 passes through the center of S double dash is equals to 0. That is the center of common orthogonal circle. Is that okay with everyone? Now, based
Yes,
on
sir.
this discussion, try to address this problem. Okay. The problem says, let ABC be triangle. Let ABC be triangle whose equation of sides are AB x plus 2y is equals to 3 and AC 2x plus y is equals to 3. So even before we proceed ahead, is there anything specific about AB and AC equations? It is x plus 2y is equals to 3. It is 2x plus y is equals to 3. So anything specific about the equations? If I replace
Sir, are
x
the
and y,
images of each other?
very good. They are images of each other about y is equals to x line, because it's only interchange of x and y that can give us one equation from the other. So definitely AB and AC are images of each other about the line y is equals to x. So y is equals to x must be their angle bisector. Now look to third side BC. That is x plus y is equals to 4. So it is perpendicular to y is equals to x, right? That means definitely the ABC triangle we are dealing with is an isosceles triangle, and hence the angle bisector of the equal sides AB and AC, the y is equals to x, is also median through A and also altitude from A to the opposite side BC. Even before we proceed in the question, can we confirm this much? This is pure observation of the particularized data. Now it's been said S1, S2 and S3 are three circles drawn considering AB, AC and BC as diameters respectively. So we have addressed this idea just a while ago. The radical axis of S1 and S2, S1 and S3 and S2 and S3 are L12 is equals to 0, L13 is equals to 0 and L23 is equals to 0. This radical axis meets sides BC, AC and AB at D, E and F respectively. And triangle DEF is formed. So we have gone through this earlier. Based on this, try to address these three questions. Okay, 5 minutes time for you.